what they're missing is a necessary skill set, how to have a difficult conversation. Hey, team, we need to have a difficult conversation. I'm afraid to have this conversation. I fear I'm going to say the wrong thing or accidentally trigger somebody, and I need your help because I'm going to fumble this. But it's more important that we have this conversation than not simply because I'm afraid. That's how you start a difficult conversation. That is a teachable, learnable, practicable skill set. So one thing that I would like to see more of in our university system to prepare young people as they enter the workforce, whether they choose an entrepreneurial path or not, is to be better equipped with these skills, because their companies, as of now, are doing a poor job of equipping them. And if they are going to be the future leaders, I want them to bring these skills to business to repair the capitalism and repair the damage done by folks like Jack Welch. They are not soft. There is nothing soft about having a very uncomfortable conversation with somebody. So the question is, where do you start teaching? Well, there's plenty of a curriculum available, but it's usually in different departments. Go to the social work department. Go look at parenting education. There's tons of curriculum available, but we don't put it in the business school, and we need to. A course on active listening, for example. We are terrible listeners. We're good at screaming and yelling, and we're terrible at listening. The mere fact that there's even, it's even a thing, it's even a meme about how to get through Thanksgiving because of your uncle who has, opposite political views at you. And the best advice we get is don't bring up politics at the Thanksgiving table. That's nonsense. How about learn to have an uncomfortable conversation and learn to listen and understand someone's point of view when you vehemently disagree with them? And sitting down trying to convince them is not listening. Trying to understand and have empathy is listening. And when two people with opposing points of view can find common ground, that's where growth happens. And I'll give you a real life example from, in my life. I have a friend, she is from rural Tennessee, and we discovered over the course of our friendship just how divergent our political views and views on how the world works are. To the, she buys into some, conspiracy theory. And she and I went for a walk once, and we were talking about something, and I definitely thought, and I may have even said, how can you be so stupid? And she stopped in her tracks and said, you just called your friend stupid. And I realized, what have I done? I'm literally closing off any opportunity for constructive conversation here because I judged and accused, even if I think whatever theory she's buying into is not grounded in fact. I attacked her. And so I had to learn to take a step back and embrace empathy. And instead of trying to convince her that she was wrong or point out the facts that dispute her beliefs, I instead went on a journey of learning to listen and understand how she came to believe in the things she believes. And during COVID, we had many conversations that were diametrically opposed. And instead of attacking each other or trying to convince each other, we got really good at saying, tell me more about that. Where does that come from? And almost always I could find a fact or I could find a detail that says, you're absolutely right there. That is absolutely true. And the minute we could find common ground, all of a sudden we could build up from there. And she became much more open to some of the points of view I had as soon as I could affirm some element in what she had or find something I agreed with. And that skill of active listening is incredibly difficult, but immensely valuable in finding common ground, especially with people with different political points of view. But the point is you're going to have disagreements with people about what decision to make for the company. You're going to have decisions about what to do with an underperforming employee. What do we do? Somebody who's resistant to coaching. How do we react? Difficulty is the nature of the game. There's nothing smooth about business. It is an incredibly complicated game it's a game of people, right? It's all people. Customers are people, investors are people, employees are people, everybody's people, and people are messy. And they're filled with ego and insecurity and ambition and fear and all the rest of it. Congratulations, there's your company. And, the best leaders are the ones who aren't necessarily the best at reading the P&L. The best leaders are the ones who learn and commit themselves to learning all the skills necessary to navigate those complications. And in so doing, building trust from their team that gives them permission to even make mistakes. If you're the person doing the hiring, then you have a responsibility to put out what your vision is. If you're just hiring a skill set and you're ignoring whether that future employee, that candidate, even believes in what you believe, then if you hired somebody who shouldn't be on the team, then you bear some responsibility. You can't just scream and yell at them and call them underperforming and let them go. You bear some responsibility, right? You made a mistake in hiring them. So that's part. If you're not the person responsible for hiring, but you're stuck with someone, you're working with someone who doesn't buy into the team goal, that shouldn't impact your optimism, right? It'll cause frustration, but let's be crystal clear what optimism is. Optimism is not blind, nor is it naive. It is not the same as blind or toxic positivity. Everything's fine, everything's good, everything's fine. And a lot of leaders make that mistake, which is in difficult times, they falsely believe they have to be positive and put on a brave face every day to inspire the team. But it does the opposite, because when we're in the mud together and you're blindly positive, I know we're in the mud, so I just don't believe you. And so it actually makes things worse. Or I look at you, go, oh my God, how can you be positive in this difficult time? There must be something wrong with me. So it backfires in a major way, right? Optimism is not the same. Optimism is the undying belief that the future is bright. And you can stand in darkness and you can wade through difficulty and mud, and you can be honest about it. We are going through an incredibly difficult time. It is filled with uncertainty, and I am uncertain as well. But there's one thing I know for sure. If we work together through these difficult times, 100% guaranteed, we will get through this and we will come out of this stronger than we went in, even if I don't know how long we're going to be in the darkness. That's optimism. And no matter who's on the team, who may or may not buy into the goal is not to obsess about the one or two people who aren't bought in. The goal is to obsess about the cause, the vision, to rally the people who do believe. And hopefully that person who doesn't buy in will either join or extract themselves. I'm very public about people who don't buy into things. I say, listen, I don't mind that you don't believe in this. It actually doesn't bother me, right? Come to work, do your job, do sort of the minimum that we need, punch your clock, get your paycheck, go home. I'm totally fine with that. Just don't get in the way or sabotage what we're doing. There's no cause for that. There's no reason for that, right? Just do your thing and we'll leave you alone, but you cannot sabotage. And I think that's totally okay to say. I've definitely said it, not necessarily at somebody, I've said it in an audience, to a group to a team. Like, if you don't believe in it, I'm cool with it. Just collect your paycheck and just leave the rest of us alone. There's no reason you need to sabotage. Of course, you have to make short-term decisions, of course. But making sure you maintain vision for the future includes things like integrity. It includes things like adherence to values, right? So you can make short-term decisions, but they have to be consistent with your values. They have to be consistent with a high ethical standard. Of course, you can, when you're trying to be healthy, you can eat chocolate cake. Just don't eat too much of it. Like, if you need a short-term sugar rush, if you need a short-term infusion of something, you're going to do business with a client who you know is a bad fit, but you need the cash, fine, do it. But don't do it under any illusions that this is the future and everything's going to be hunky-dory, or that relationship's going to be enjoyable. The mistake is when we keep making those decisions for the short term, then ultimately what will break the organization. The mistake we make is you keep eating the chocolate cake when you're trying to be healthy, and eventually the exercise just isn't having the same impact as it used to. So short-term decisions are fine, but do them with eyes wide open. And don't kid yourself or rationalize things away. I think one of the biggest mistakes young entrepreneurs make is when they start to seek investment, and they take investment from either the name brand investor, or they take investment from the person who offers them the most money. Most investors are not looking to make a long-term bet. Few are, but not enough. They're looking for relatively short-term bets, and no matter what they say at the beginning, wait a few years and you'll start to feel the pressure for where those returns are, and the pressure to put lipstick on a pig start to increase. So the number of times I hear from young entrepreneurs, one of the biggest struggles they have is actually the pressure from their investors. And I always shrug my shoulders and say, you took the money. And so do your homework. Go talk to some of their other companies that they've invested in, for example. Find out what it's like to work with them. Find out if there's pressure. Find out how they treat you when things go wrong. Find out what happens when you want to make an ethically correct decision. It might create a short-term liability. Do they support you, or do they hammer you to make the financially expedient decision? Go do your homework, and then have the guts to turn that investor down to go with another investor who may offer you less money. Your partners are the most important thing you've got, especially in early stage. Long-term vision means staying true to my values, staying true to the direction I'm going, open-minded to how I get there, open-minded to changing the product, but remaining true to the cause I'm trying to advance, That's how you make short-term decisions. If you close off your mind to what the future looks like and to your values, things aren't going to go well, or you will be very uncomfortable as you go down that path.